the Burundian president moves a step closer in his bid to run for a controversial third term. In our Music Maker segment, Ghanaian recording artist and entertainer Edem. And following a grim sentence, a Bollywood superstar avoids jail. For now. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Now we begin in Burundi, where President Pierre Nkurunziza has registered on Friday to run for a controversial third term. Now the move is likely to trigger more anger among protesters opposing his bid for another 5 years in office. The Burundi Constitutional Court ruled this week that he could run, saying his first term did not count because he was picked by parliament and not elected by the people. Critics say the court is biased and are vowing to keep up protests. Nkurunziza's bid for a third term has plunged Burundi into its worst crisis since the civil war that pitted rebels from the ethnic Hutu majority against the then Tutsi-led army and killed about 300,000 people. Now, the African Union and the United States had urged President Nkurunziza to drop his plan to run in elections set for June. But as viewers Latisa Hoke reports, the violence stemming from his decision to stand for a third term has sent waves of refugees into neighboring countries.
There have been almost daily protests in the capital Bujumbura since President Nkurunziza announced late last month that he would seek to extend his 10-year rule. On Thursday, he promised not to seek a fourth term if re-elected, and he appealed for calm.
We are asking political party leaders to go around the country and tell their supporters to accept the elections because there is no other remedy for the current problem. Burundians and friends of Burundi, these protests, in the capital especially, have disrupted a lot of things, and we are sad because people have lost their lives, whether civilians, army, or the police.
At least 15 people have been killed since the protests started. The African Union has warned the situation in the country is not suitable for elections. Many Burundians are incensed by the Constitutional Court ruling that approved the president's candidacy, and they say they will not be pacified.
Even if 1,000 people are killed, we are not stopping the protests. If people in the capital city die, we will not stop the protests. If they kill anyone in this area, that's when they will have started a war.
East African leaders will meet in Tanzania next week to discuss the crisis in Burundi. But for many Burundians, it is too late.
To be honest, they are really late because the situation is already bad. People are dying, hunger is increasing, there are no jobs, so they are really late.
The United Nations says about 40,000 people have fled the country in recent weeks, mostly to Rwanda.
We started yesterday distributing 1 month food rations for the refugees. There are nutritional centers that have been set up to make sure that children who are screened for malnutrition receive the support that they need. And we're going to need the support of the world to make sure that we can do this over the next months.
The UN Refugee Agency has appealed to all sides in Burundi to stop the violence, which is worsening the already critical world refugee crisis. Zlatica Hope, VOA News, Washington.
Well, now to Nigeria, where a gunman opened fire on students after walking into a high school in Potiskum in the country's northeast, critically wounding 6. The gunman, who was caught and beaten by locals, was accompanied by a suicide bomber who detonated the device, only killing himself. It was not immediately known whether the gunman and the second attacker were from the Boko Haram terrorist group. Well, for more on that attack and security in Nigeria, Cynthia Ari of our partner Channels TV joins us by phone from Lagos. Cynthia, what more can you tell us about today's attack?
Oh, thank you, Vincent. It's an unfortunate incident, but there is a lot of conflicting information concerning this incident. First of all, starting with the time. Some say it was 8 a.m., some say it was 8:30. Some say it was the attackers were 2 in number. Others say there were 5 in number. There's even a dispute concerning how many were killed. Some are saying 3, some are saying 6. Some are saying 20 were injured, some are saying 45. There's a lot of conflicting news that we've been getting from our correspondents over there. But what is certain is that it was a random shooting, but it was also a calculated attack, in that there was also a bomb which was detonated in one of the dormitories. But they got lucky because most of the students had gone for lectures, and that didn't end up killing anybody.
No.
So there's some conflicting reports, but it's unfortunate nonetheless.
Now, the question is anybody claiming this attack?
So far, Boko Haram hasn't come out to say we're responsible, but it is something they've done in the past. Potoskum is the biggest town in Yobe State. It's always been a scene of several attacks, but this is the first of such an attack on a high school that we're seeing, particularly after the collaborative efforts which we've seen with Chad, Niger, Cameroon, and Nigeria.
Now, very quickly, some people are saying Boko Haram seems to be in disarray, on the run even. What is your take?
I spoke with the Director for Defense Information, that's Major General Chris Olukolade, and he told me his words were basically that, it just shows that the army is winning the war because these are soft targets. These are children we're talking about. They could have targeted the military if they had the upper hand, but I believe the attack speaks for itself. They went and shot randomly at students. Those were people who were unable to defend themselves. So in reality, the army is winning the war, and they also did respond very quickly when this attack happened, along with the police.
Well, Cynthia, thank you very much. Cynthia Arif, Channels TV, reporting live by phone from Lagos, Nigeria. Now, Europe and the United States are marking the 70th anniversary Friday of what's known as Victory in Europe Day, or V-Day. Now, the day in 1945 when Nazi troops laid down their arms, ending World War II in Europe. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met with French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius Friday before participating in a ceremony marking the end of World War II in Europe. After the meeting, Kerry joined Fabius in laying wreath at the tomb of unknown soldiers in Paris as part of the anniversary of the day that marked the Allied forces' victory of Nazi Germany. And now, Kerry is also set to meet with Gulf Cooperation Council foreign ministers in France to discuss regional issues. It will be laying the groundwork for a White House summit with Gulf leaders next week. Among the topics in Friday's talks will be Iran's growing influence across much of the Middle East. Now, back here in Washington, in the United States, a large array of World War II aircraft will fly over Washington, D.C. in honor of the Second World War veterans in town for a ceremony at the World War II Memorial. Now, during preparations Thursday for the flyover, 91-year-old Koenig Thomasian, who was a U.S. Air Force staff sergeant and a prisoner of war, marveled at the B-29's beauty and how his experience made clear for him what he had fought for.
Well, it means that we have our commemoration of our freedom. Our freedom, as any POW knows. Nobody else can visualize it. They say, oh, gee, it'd be lousy to have you lose your freedom. We know what it is to lose your freedom.
Well, the flyover will take place midday in Washington, where the vintage aircraft will pass through the usually protected airspace of the Capitol Mall. In his weekly address released early for the occasion, U.S. President Barack Obama paid tribute to those who served in the war, calling them the generation that literally saved the world. Mr. Obama also said, "Let's stand united with our allies in Europe and beyond on behalf of our common values, freedom, security, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law around the world, and against bigotry and hatred in all their forms, so that we give meaning to that pledge, never forget, never again." Now, setbacks on the battlefield seem to be doing little to dent the success the Islamic State is having in the world of social media. And that is prompting a new outcry from U.S. lawmakers who say Washington's online strategy is off base. VOA's national security correspondent Jeff Selden reports.
As investigators dig deeper into the recent attack on a convention and Prophet Muhammad cartoon drawing contest in Garland, Texas, the Islamic State group's rush to claim responsibility is sparking renewed concern. Senate Homeland Security Committee Chairman Ron Johnson.
These arrests, the revelations of these things are growing, and they're increasing in frequency.
Johnson points to more than a dozen arrests of Americans inspired by the Islamic State or other terror groups to travel overseas or to carry out an attack in the U.S. One of the few things that connect the cases, finding the Islamic State on social media. J.M. Berger is co-author of ISIS, State of Terror.
There's a sense of remote intimacy on social media. Somebody tweeting from Syria who is a member of ISIS can develop a very emotionally powerful relationship with somebody who's sitting in the United States.
Intelligence officials say the Islamic State has done more than any other militant group to capitalize on the power of social media, attracting young people who feel isolated, aggrieved, or are simply seeking adventure. U.S. counter-messaging efforts have been slammed as crude or worse. Senator Cory Booker says when he looked,
and it's laughable. 3 retweets, 2 retweets.
Mubin Sheikh, a former radical who's worked with the Canadian Security Services, says much of the outreach also misses the target audience.
If you want to fight back against recruitment of 15-year-old kids, you need to work with 15-year-old kids.
Still, experts like David Gardenstein-Ross say the Islamic State is far from invincible.
They're susceptible to a brand reversal because jihadists themselves would turn on them if they start to lose the territorial advantage.
U.S. military officials say that's already happening. Experts say getting that message out on social media will take more than the tweets the U.S. currently has to offer. Jeff Selden, VOA News, Washington.
Well, the Goldman Environmental Prize honors grassroots leaders involved in local efforts where positive change is created through community or citizen participation in the issues that affect them. Now, the prize seeks to inspire ordinary people to take extraordinary actions to protect the natural world. Yesterday, we introduced you to Phyllis Omido, the Kenyan recipient of the 2015 Goldman Environmental Prize. And in part 2 of my conversation with her, Phyllis tells us her motivation and the challenges she faces in the effort to save her community.
We always had incidences that would be really extreme at some point. When we started, it was the roofing sheets that would corrode because of the acid that landed on it. And after some time, the plants dried out, the fruit plants. And then we realized the children started coughing, okay? When it went on, the mothers started having miscarriages. They could not carry their babies to term. And so it went on and on. The effluent that was being channeled into the community was so bad. There's a time the kids were playing football, their ball went there, and one boy went to retrieve it. And when he put his foot in the effluent, the foot came out totally burnt. So that's how bad the situation was. And yet this is a discharge that was being directed to the river that the community used. They would shut down the smelter for a week, then reopen it and say they complied. So we kept asking them, what did they comply with? Share that information with us. But we never got the information. So in 2012, while we were planning a demonstration, I was arrested. And I slept in the cells, and the next day I was arraigned in court on charges of inciting violence and illegal gathering, alongside 16 members, some community members, some members of my organization. And so for about 8 months we had to go to court weekly and listen to the state witnesses give evidence against us. But finally we were acquitted by the judge. He said that we were within our rights to want to demonstrate. It was a legitimate demonstration. And so after that, when we came back, we did our demo again, where we had, in 2014, we did a mega demo. At the same time, we did a petition to the Senate. We wrote to the UN Special Rapporteur on toxic waste and said this. That by that time we had compiled so many documents. There's a government body called the Public Complaints Committee had done a report in 2009. Unfortunately, it was hidden from us until 2012 when we obtained it and decided to demo because the recommendations that were inside the report had not been complied with. But then the Senate committee came and said this thing should never, ever, ever be allowed to reopen. And so that was victory for us. And so that's why I'm here.
All right. So what is the status of things today as we speak?
As of now, the government had asked the public health department to carry out 50 random tests September last year. The state is still withholding those results from us. They've not given us those results. So we are still pushing for the blood test to be released to the community. And the CDC has also partnered with our Ministry of Health. They are doing a study to quantify the contribution of the lead smelter to the blood lead levels in Owinohu. We are expecting that report out anytime. After that, we want to push for cleanup. We want the community cleaned up. We want everyone who's tested and comes out positive for lead poisoning to be treated. And we want the community compensated because there are mothers there who lost their wombs because of that experience. There are mothers who lost their babies. There are men who have erectile issues because of both former workers and some of their community members. So we need someone to take responsibility for all that.
Now, you go back home after this event in Washington. What are you taking back and what are you going to do with it?
I think I'm taking back hope for our communities. We've been operating with nothing. We've just been operating on passion and just sheer tenacity. Now we have finance.
Well, Phyllis Omido there. We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa54. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Well, coming up in our Music Makers segment, Ghanaian entertainer Adam. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's Music Makers Friday, and today we feature a Ghanaian artist and entertainer, best known as Adam, with his new single, Coin, featuring Ice Queen of Zambia and Little Sheikh of Ghana. Now, to tell us more about Adam is Music Time in Africa host, Heather Maxwell. Now, you know so much about this guy.
Well, I had a nice long interview with him a few weeks ago, and Adam is really interesting. He's very creative, very smart. And this video, it won the Best Afro-Pop Song in the Ghana Music Awards 2015. And also, what's special about it is it's just beautiful to look at. It's a global, carnivalesque-inspired dance hall song.
Wow.
And Adam said, I asked him, what is kwene? It's actually kwene. I said, what does that mean? And he said, well, kwene is an Ewe word. And he's Ewe, which is from the Volta region of Ghana, and he's known for rapping in that language, which in Ghana, it's usually in Twi.
Okay.
So he was the first one to really say,
that language at that level.
Yes.
So let's see why Ghanaian liked this song to choose it as the best. Queen.
All right.
Let's go. Ebe ya jina nana kwini. Ebe ya nana kwini. Ebe ya jina nana kwini. Ebe ya nana kwini. Ebe ya jina nana kwini. But wait, before you go, make I give you for the last ana. Baby, tell me what you want. You want it from the front or you want it from the back ana? Make I give you for the last ana. Then for salmon kudi, salmon kudi, salmon kudi. Hey, salmon kudi, salmon kudi, salmon kudi. Go. Nana, Queenie, Abaya Nana, Queenie, abaye jinanana, Queenie, 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 abaye jinanana, Queenie, abaye hananana, Queenie, abaye jinanana, Queenie, Queenie, Queenie. Go get him, time I got you on my first special delivery. Any, many, many more, this I know we giving it. Super Jew on the dance floor, BCB, a man that come and juggle more now to infinity. City kill them, the upon head top. City ball them, make champagne pop. No rest, no stop, no we can't stop. Screens to the basket, skele. Get him. Me a do gonna zanato, kademi the cool do food bele. Run out, corner. She am inside the corner. If you do dog out, show them. I'm gonna do my spot for your bone out. She ate funk with quite dope. Still flavored out for the right go. I give you for the last and Baby, tell me what you want. You want it from the front or you want it from the back and Make I give you for the last and Then for salmon goodie, hey. Salmon goodie.
Ha, the nigga know what I said. Hey, about to blow your speakers up. Are you ready? Come on, dirty wine, drop steady. Now get your LPC and your stilettos. Get your MAC lipstick and your sexy on. I'll be writing shot.
All right, so now what's Kwene, really?
Kwene means to give.
Yeah.
But in this context, it means get on the dance floor and give off your best moves.
Okay. What do you think Leo Sarkisian, who hosted the show you host now, would say in the 50th anniversary of that show?
It is the 50th anniversary of Music Time in Africa. He would love it. He'd say, you know, this is the beauty of African music. It just keeps changing and evolving, and it's always a big surprise.
Yes. Well, thanks a lot, Heather, for sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Heather. And now to learn more about Heather Maxwell and her VOA radio show, visit Facebook and type in the keywords Music Time in Africa, and you can see what time a radio program can be heard in your area and get more information about some of our featured artists. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a Bollywood superstar avoids jail for now. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. African leaders travel to Moscow for celebrations of the 70th anniversary of World War II victory over the Nazis. In Rwanda, relief agencies respond to a sharp increase of Burundi refugees. In Guinea, violent clashes continue between the government and opposition over election timetable. The Italian Marine finds shipwreck in the Mediterranean that resulted in the death of 800 migrants in April. Finally, the World Health Organization will declare Liberia Ebola-free on Saturday if no new infections are discovered. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Now, fans of Bollywood superstar Salman Khan celebrated after the actor was granted bail ahead of an appeal against his conviction in a drunk driving hit-and-run case. Khan was sentenced to 5 years in jail on Wednesday on charges of running over 5 men, sleeping on a sidewalk and killing one in a hit-and-run case that has dragged on for more than 12 years. Now, the 49-year-old actor was convicted of culpable homicide, negligent driving and causing grievous harm. The Mumbai High Court will hear Khan's appeal in July, according to the prosecutor. Well, next up, the auto trend of the future. Spanish automakers Seat are unveiling the latest incarnation of their Ibiza range at the Barcelona International Motor Show. Drivers can integrate their smartphones into the car's dashboard, allowing them to access mobile phone functions and apps on the car's in-vehicle infotainment screen. Now, the system is compatible with smartphones which run on Android or iOS operating systems. Seat has also developed its own smartphone app called Seat Drive app. It allows drivers to find their parked car and store journeys they've made. Now, the app can also read social media posts, tweet, instant messages, and emails aloud, meaning drivers can concentrate on the road.
to the car.
Well, and finally, the original Mad Max, Mel Gibson, made a surprise visit to the new movie's LA premiere. Now, the actor-director stopped by to say hello and congratulate the new Mad Max British actor Tom Hardy. Gibson played the title characters in 3 movies: Mad Max, Mad Max 2, and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Also, the premiere was Hardy's co-star, Oscar winner Charlize Theron. Mad Max Fury Road crashes into theaters around the world later this month, and that is what is trending today. Well, it's time now for a Friday Sports Report, and here's Sunny Young with the latest news and notes in sports. Hello, Sunny.
Hello, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. Here's a Sunny Side of Sports salute to sharpshooting guard Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors, who this week won the National Basketball Association's Most Valuable Player Award. Curry averaged almost 24 points a game during the regular season for the Warriors, who won a club record 67 games, tops in the NBA. The 27-year-old player also broke his own NBA record by making 286 three-point shots during the regular season. In his MVP award acceptance speech, Steph got teary-eyed talking about his father, Dell, who had a 16-year NBA career.
This hasn't sunk in at all. I'm on cloud 9 for sure. Obviously, we're in the middle of a playoff run, and that's the most important thing. But today is a celebration for sure. Just thank you so much. And Pops, you're the example of what a true professional is on and off the court. I remember a lot of your career, and to be able to follow in your footsteps, it means a lot to me. So thank you so much.
As Steph Curry said, the Warriors are in the middle of a playoff run. The NBA's new most valuable player will be looking to fire in a few more three-point shots this weekend when the Warriors play the host Memphis Grizzlies in Game 3 of the Western Conference semifinals. The best-of-7 series is tied at 1 game each. I'm VOA's Sonny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Vincent?
Well, thanks a lot, Sunny, and be sure to watch the Sunny Side of Sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. And for more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.
Music is something that brings people together.
Music educates, it motivates, it's a bridge.
Music. Ali.
On
VOA.
qubanaha VOA waxaan ku soo gudbinnaa qubanayaal goosgoos oo xiiso badan oo ku saabsan arrimaha Soomaaliya, Mareykanka iyo caalamkaba.
haddaba qubanaha VOA-da kala soco website-keena voasomali.com.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report.
I'm Milar Sega. I'm the host of VOA's The Correspondents, a roundup of the world's top stories.
Here's a false choice in more ways than one.
We can't actually put you there, but we can come pretty close. In 30 minutes, we'll show you the world.